Hello everyone. It's been a while since I did any voice recordings. I hope I still remember how to talk. Just joking. I did talk with people a few times over the past month, probably. As far as I remember. Did I? Oh, okay. Anyways, I played by Sweet Carole around the New Year time, and it's only now that I got back to review the video footage and gather my thoughts about it. I wanted to give it extra benefit of the doubt because I played it at a rather stressful time of my life. Even though I left positive review for it on Steam, I can't really say that I truly enjoyed this game, which could have been due to the stress, and I didn't want to be unfair, so I waited till all the stress-inducing factors were finally gone from my life. This explains the 1 month pause between my voiceover recordings, but enough about me, and let's talk about what I liked about By Sweet Carole and what I didn't like. And let's start from the good things first. That's the art style. It's an impeccably drawn style horror story. We don't get much horror from the actual Disney, so thumbs up for the idea. Having chirping birds and other creatures alongside with monsters is fun. The color scheme is a bit too dull to my personal taste, but this reflects the horror aspect of the game and the idea that the world, that the reality is corrupted by ash and tar and coal, so yeah, it's desaturated, so that's fitting. And it's also a stylistic choice. To my personal view, horror works just as well with brighter colors, but that's me. This game doesn't have to be like that. It's fine. Regardless, everything is very well drawn, animated, and is nice to look at. I only disliked talking animation just a little bit because they are repeated. But you can't really expect for an indie game to have matching mouth movements for all the dialogues. At least these are full body movements on repeat, not just lips, so it's not lazy and it looks better than if it's just the lips moving. Okay, then the obviously good thing is the story itself. I remember reading negative reviews for By Sweet Carole on Steam. I always read negative reviews first, and when I saw people complaining about too much feminist agenda, I knew this was going to be a great story and I was going to like it. And I did. By Sweet Carole made me think about a game which came out around the same time and impressed me deeply. That is Silent Hill F. I'm so glad there are now games that speak of the horror of being a woman. There are these ideas that if you're a girl, then you like cozy farming and dress-up games, and that's what they often target to the female demographic. But women are obviously very different, and some of us like horror. There are so many horror games targeted to the male demographic specifically that men can feel in a much more visceral way. But women also want games like that, and to have horror games that can really crawl under our skin, they need to reflect the experience that we can feel and understand being a woman. And Silent Hill F does that excellently. It speaks about the fear to lose your identity after marriage, societal expectations from girls, and treating daughters as a commodity to be traded off, and so many other things which I don't want to get into here because, well, this is my Sweet Carole review video, not Silent Hill F review video. But maybe the last thing is this particular monster. It's my favorite. She looks almost straight out of Silent Hill F. Just look at it. It's so creepy and cool. Well, anyway, there wasn't that much deeper meaning in the monster design, but all the monsters in By Sweet Carole look fun and creepy. They've got a bit of a retro and Disney vibe. So, yeah, that's definitely quite enjoyable to look at. By Sweet Carole portrays women reduced to rabbits, an object of prey, as animals deprived of intellect or their own agenda, and portrays men reduced to clones, mannequins, and hostile monsters that want to consume those rabbits. But the main enemy our heroine Lana faces is her own fear to grow up and her own guilt and mistakes of her own past. She's imagining herself as a princess of Koroa, a fairy tale kingdom, and it's nothing but a traumatic response, a form of escapism. One very clever thing that this game does is that monsters stop being monsters when they regain their identity, when they are no longer reduced to objects but can remember their hopes and dreams. And we see the same Miss Fisherin, which would give us a lot of trouble in earlier chapters, turning into this absolutely lovely lady. I don't want to spoil the story too much. I will just say that this kind of story is my favorite kind of story, where in the end you find out that everything that was happening has been happening in your own head. I love stories like this. They let you get away with so many wildly imaginative things, and this game does it very well. So yeah, great, absolutely great story and absolutely great art style. And what is it that I didn't like? Well, I didn't like the game itself, the game aspect of it, how it's structured, how it's built. So, By Sweet Carole is a combination of point and click adventure and a puzzle platformer, I guess. And it managed to mix the worst parts of these genres without what I consider the best and what makes these enjoyable for me personally. So what's the best about adventure games? Mainly that there are none or very few timed tasks, that you can just relax, walk around, click around and figure out whom to talk to, what can be combined with what, and usually you can't die. It's very rare when certain choice leads to game over. I love adventure games for how relaxing and stress-free they are. You may wonder, how can horror games be stress-free? Well, Slay the Princess is a horror game, which is a good example of a stress-free horror game. Yeah, you do face consequences of your choices, but none of these choices are wrong. None of these are a game over. And since By Sweet Carole mixed adventure game with a platformer, you can die there in so many ways. You can fail a jump, you can fail to keep a balance in mini game, or you can fall from heights, and that's it. Game over. You restart from the nearest checkpoint. It's the most annoying thing that any developer can put into a point-and-click adventure, to my own personal point of view. And dying is also the worst part of a platformer, but in platformer games it comes with a chance to get good. It is extremely fulfilling when you learn to execute all those jumps and wall climbs perfectly. But there is none of this in By Sweet Carole. All the platforming there exists only as a way to introduce extra ways to die and basically prevent you from reaching somewhere easily. It's artificially inflating the game time, and the actual platforming is so clumsy and unresponsive, and the character moves so slowly, it's excruciating. At first I was glad there was this run option, and I would run everywhere in the very first chapter, because that would finally bring the game to a speed which was more bearable for me. But when later in the games enemies are introduced, and apparently when you run, objects may fall and it will attract those enemies, and you will now have to be escaping from them. So running is a no-no in later game, and you have to endure this excruciatingly slow movement speed. You have no choice, or you will have to endure even worse run and hide sequences and potential death and restarts and redo everything from the very beginning. Yeah. Why am I complaining about this so much? If I played Silent Hill F, you may wonder. Well, I didn't play Silent Hill F. I don't play 3D games with combat. I'm clever enough to know that I don't like this. So I knew, no matter how amazing that story was, I could only watch the videos about the gameplay, about the lore, no more. Just don't buy it, don't install it, don't try it if you don't want to suffer. And with By Sweet Carole, I was unlucky enough to actually get it and play it. I mean, it's always a conflict of the reality and expectations, isn't it? I wanted a scary but generally stress-free experience, but I ended up being frustrated to the point that near 2-hour mark, I took a break and seriously contemplated if I should just refund this game. I stayed, as you can see, and Honestly, after chapter 2, the enemy encounters got less overwhelming, or maybe I just learned how to deal with them better. I still suffered from the clumsiness of platforming. For example, there is no standing on the edge animation, so it's very easy to mistime a jump and fall off, and then you have to restart from a while ago. This sequence is an example of that. And there is one more sequence closer to the end of the game, which is not a hard challenge from the platforming point of view. Basically, it's just a series of well-timed wall jump. It's very basic. But due to clumsiness of controls, this was incredibly frustrating. I played another platformer recently called Symphonia, and it's a hard platformer. My death count there was in thousands. I legitimately cursed out loud when playing it, and not a single time, many times. But in the end, it was enjoyable and fulfilling to finally clear those challenges. And with By Sweet Carole, it wasn't at all, because it didn't feel like a proper challenge, more like a game glitching out, more like a poorly executed mechanic which is artificially preventing you from completion. Imagine a game where your controls would be scrambled randomly and you would just die straight away as a result of that. No one would play that kind of game. Maybe take a hit or two, but still be able to fix the situation with even more skill. I could see that as a fun challenge, but not like this. Not with that much punishment for what is basically even not your own mistake. When controls just don't function the way they should, when they don't feel the way they should feel, and you involuntarily have to restart, that is merely frustrating. Luckily, there were not too many sequences like this, just these particular two. As I'm recording this now, I'm not even sure if I will play By Sweet Carole again. I might do this to grab some more achievements I missed the first time, maybe to record some videos. But as I was reviewing the footage from the first time, I could clearly remember just how frustrated I was, and I am still not sure. I still don't feel like doing it again. That's how bad it was. Like usually when I get a game and I love getting all the achievements, I end up playing it like 2, maybe 3 times. No problem at all, like 4 times sometimes. I don't care. If I'm enjoying the game, I can play it on repeat for really a while till I truly get tired of it. Like, I got 1,300 hours in Dove Romantic. Mind you, it's unbelievable. I still can't believe I get it. But yeah, here, this one playthrough, which took me 10 hours, and I'm still not sure I really want to do it again. Like, I'm really not so sure. Finally, the last straw. There is combat in this game. Not too much, luckily, but it's right there in the end. And also in the middle, but the middle one was easy. A spamming attack button basically was enough. But it's a question of the principle. I really hate it when adventure games just shove the combat down my throat without asking. Come on, you're talking about feminism and everything. Why do you do this? Without players' consent. I mean, you should have a skip mechanic for those things, like a story mode. Even Silent Hill F has a story mode, like so many games which have combat also have story mode. By Sweet Carole should have had this story mode. Definitely, yeah, it would negate some achievements, but that's fine. And I did not sign up for any combat. I didn't want to do this. And I would not have given up on the game right in the end, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy at all. Okay, the story was great and everything was great, but I did not consent to this. I did not want this, and the game made me do that, and I wasn't happy. So, I mean, if you don't mind combat, if you don't mind dying in stupid ways, which are not your fault, okay, maybe you won't be that much frustrated. But I was, and this game could have been so much better. And it wasn't. And many people also complain about bugs, which there are many, because it's a newer indie game. I didn't encounter any bugs, at least, except the controls. However, the game says it's better to play with a controller, and as I was traveling, I didn't have my controller with me, so maybe I should try it once again, and this time with a controller, and maybe it will feel better. Maybe. But still, it's not a very complicated game to be that much frustrating with keyboard. Well, anyways, I'm just going on in circles and just keep on ranting and ranting. I want to stop. Okay, so as a conclusion, By Sweet Carole has really great art, a very interesting story with a lot of great symbolism, but the actual gameplay is questionable the least. I understand that the puzzles are not hard, and without the monsters chasing you all those ways to die, it would be just too short and too simple. But still, that's a very artificial thing to introduce to your game just to inflate the playtime. However, once you get through the second chapter with Miss Fisherin, things get a little bit easier and much more smooth, except for just a few moments. So this is definitely playable. Even if you don't enjoy the genre, it's definitely playable, and story makes up for that. The horror makes up for that. There are so many things in this game that just make up for the mechanics which are not the best. And interestingly, people complain about combat in Silent Hill F a lot too. So that's yet another similarity between these games. They are wildly different genres, but still, I would dare to say that you think that Silent Hill F is a very cool game, then high chances are that you're gonna like By Sweet Carole too. Regardless of my own personal experience, which could have been much better, I'm still very glad these two games exist, and I'm glad these kinds of stories get told, that the horror of being a woman is now portrayed through the lens of entertainment, scaring us women in the way that we can really feel under our skin. So that's it. Hopefully I will play it again someday, maybe not soon, but someday for sure. And hopefully there will be a few more videos about By Sweet Carole on my channel someday. Can't promise though. Well, take care. Bye.